Hey, it's Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. Today we're going to make a Christmas wreath with our patent pending pancake wreath frame. This was a kit. The kit came with the 14-inch frame, the 10-inch frame, and the sign extender. Both those two pieces, we have different videos for you to follow along. Today we're going to be using the 14-inch frame. The kit also came with a full roll of mesh, which we're actually going to cut together here, just so that we can walk through a couple things. It came with your sign and the pieces that go on the back to to attach your sign to your wreath. They're called zip tie mounts. What I did was I pulled the sticky part off the back, and I added a little bit of glue, a little bit of DAP Rapid glue, which is this stuff here. And then I have my clamps just holding it in place so that it stays nice and dry. It dries while we're working. The kit came with 4 ribbons for a bow and 2 ribbons for our ribbon tails. So how you can determine which ones are for your ribbon tails and which ones are for your bow when you're purchasing a kit from us. The first you're going to measure, this should be 14 inches. So 14 inches long. And then you want to count how many are here. There should be 12 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. After you've done that, I'm just going to cut off this excess. After you've done that, all you have to do is find the center, take your scissors, and then just cut down the center. Okay. Now, notice I'm not making sure it's absolutely perfect. I'm just cutting down the center. Okay? And then from there, to prep my ribbon tails, which I already prepped the other ones, I'm just going to fold those in half. I'm going to cut on the fold up towards the edge. So it makes a nice little V shape there on the edge. Just looks polished, looks finished. Again, I'm using the scissors from CoachMailSupplies.com. And so it can cut through all of those all at once. So I know this is for my tails because it was 14 inches long, and I could count 12. I need 12 for our twist ties. And again, just going along, not trying to be extremely specific. So you could take the time, unravel that, and measure out 14 inches every single time. It's just quicker to do this way. So the one more thing we're going to do before we get started on the rest is I'm going to take both of our ribbons. So I already prepped this one already ahead of time. I'm just going to lay those on top of each other. I'm going to find my favorite. My favorite, of course, is going to be the patterned ribbon. I'm going to lay it on the top, find the center, kind of make sure that they're equal in between each other so that they all look kind of equal up here at the top. It might not be the exact same. It's also okay, all right? It's also okay. Don't spend the time to say, oh, this one's a little bit longer, let me cut it. Don't spend the time to do that. Unless something is really short, like this, okay? Unless something is really short, I promise in the end, you won't see it, you won't notice it, you just won't, all right? So it's a perfectionist thing. I get it. So even that, I'm just going to leave it. You could take this and then just reportion this and make this one go up a little bit further. And then, see, then I kind of just close that gap a little bit. But I'm not going to take the time specifically to go through. Not that I don't care. That's not the case. It's just that taking the time to go through specifically and make sure it's exactly perfect, it doesn't come through, doesn't show through in the end. In the end, you're not going to know because they're not going to be directly on top of each other in the end. They're going to be spread apart in the end, and you won't really know which length is which when it's all done. So that's number one. So those I prep ahead of time, set those aside. The ones that are for our bow, it is still 14 inches long, but it only goes around 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 4 times for our bow. We have 4 ribbons for our bow. I'm going to set those aside. Our pipe cleaners, I'm going to go ahead and get those in, and then we'll cut our mesh. We're going to cut our mesh in a certain way. That's why I waited for this particular kit to just do it all together. Typically, for our kits, I have one video, just a generic, like I would point back to, like there's an Easter video that has cutting instructions. So I would point back to the cutting instructions video just to get a feel for all the things prep. Usually I do all this behind the scenes just so that it goes a little bit quicker, but for this one I went did all together. Okay, for our pipe cleaners, we have our patent pending frame has 12 spots for pipe cleaners. And you can tell because there's a hole and a notch that coordinate with each other, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the outside, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the inside, okay? So when we're going on the outside, put my hole, I'm gonna twist my pipe cleaner close to the notch. So close to the notch here, close to the notch there, okay? It's just going to help separation in the long run and the very end product so that our layers help separate from each other and you can really tell those two layers apart. It gives it a nice look and a nice finished look where you can see both the layers nice and clearly. So close to the notch on the inside, close to the notch on the outside. So I'm still tying it on the actual wood, just closest to the notch itself, okay? And another thing that I'm not paying close attention to for this particular design is these are not, you see how they're not, it's fine, okay? They're not equal because we're going to end up cutting off most of this in the end anyway, so it doesn't make sense to make sure that they are even in this particular design. Sometimes, we're using almost all of our pipe cleaner, and so then I want to make sure that they are, even, and I have, the length on both sides. But for this particular design, it's going to be nice and thin, and so I don't have to worry about, the length of the pipe cleaners. Now these are standard 12-inch pipe cleaners. And you might think, oh, if you're not going to use all of it, just cut them in half. Yes and no. So then it takes up a little bit more time because you're trying to be a little bit more careful, and saving the 12 pennies. I'm willing to risk. All right, so we're going to cut our mesh here. I'm just going to start and make a nice crisp cut on the beginning. One thing I will say is sometimes the mesh is not, it's supposed to be 10 yards. Sometimes it's not always 10 yards from the manufacturer. So if I cut it 20 inches, I know I should have enough for 1.5 bases. But sometimes, and you never know when, obviously, because it's all rolled up and I don't unroll the whole thing all together, but and then measure. So sometimes you don't know and you're a little bit short. But what I sometimes do, so my measurement is 20 inches. I know if I cut 20 inches, I can get 1.5 pancake wreath bases out of this roll of mesh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me take this one over here. Let me start my other layer over here. So sometimes it's just call it a funny feeling. I don't know what you want to call it. Sometimes I'll cut it like 19.5 inches, sometimes even 19, because sometimes I have a feeling it's going to be short. I never know. Sometimes it's not, but just in case, I don't want one piece to be super duper short. And if that is the case, if you have one that's super duper short, there's always ways to hide that also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one more. So here's what I'm doing to make sure it doesn't fray. All mesh is going to fray. Okay? It's a woven material. You have pieces going this way and you have pieces going this way. If you're not cutting exactly right in between, and even when you do, it's still going to fray. All right? So here's what I do. I make sure I have a nice clean blade on my rotary cutter. Notice rotary cutter, not scissors. Okay? So nice clean blade. I'm going to make sure I apply pressure all the way. All right. And then once I put it in place, like right now, I'm not going to play with it. Right. And once I have it in place, then I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to tug and pull and play with it too much after that. So, all things to help make sure it stays in place. It doesn't ruffle too much. And then the last thing you're going to do your best to cover it up and hide it anyways. So even if it is fraying a lot, you're going to do your very best. In the end, you're not going to see where my cuts are in the mesh, so it's going to be just fine. All right, I'm going to roll up and down. Ruffle up and down. I'm going to start on the outside of my frame first. Okay, outside. Put it in there. Crisscross. Twist, twist. You see how that's really two different sizes. It's fine. I'm going to take those two ends and kind of rub them over each other. Excuse me. And then kind of ruffle all those inside out, kind of. Okay? Ruffle them all inside out so that it stays round but mostly flat like a pancake. Right? Thus the name, Pancake Wreath. So we'll have the mesh, we'll have the ribbons, we'll have the bow, we'll have the sign, but in the end, it'll be nice and flat to fit between your doors, or most doors, not all doors. And if it doesn't, it's completely fine to hang on the outside of your storm door. Overlap there, overlap here. Kind of snug those right up in there so I can keep my eye on those inner pipe cleaners, because we're going to work on the outside first and then we're going to go to the inside. So I don't want to lose those pipe cleaners on the inside. There we go, right down in there. Overlap here, overlap here. Kind of snuggle in there, snuggle in there. And I do want to make sure I ruffle all the way up to the edge. I'm not just grabbing it. I want to make sure, you know, that expands just the way I want it to in the end. So if I take the last couple of inches and I just grab it, when I do this part and I want it to overlap and kind of come out and spread out, it won't do that. So don't just grab the last, you know, however many inches up at once. You want to make sure that it does stay separate. So I went with the black and white on the mesh. You know, typically you hear me say, you might wonder or ask, or hear somebody else ask, what is my favorite mesh to work with? And the answer is kind of boring, if you want me to be honest. If I could work with just the burlap jute only, I would be completely fine with that. To me, you know, your design is coming in, especially with the pancake wreath, your design is coming in with those ribbons and your sign and your bow. And so to me, the mesh, I mean, you know, you do see it, but it's not the star of the show. So if I could just use that burlap jute all of the time only, I probably would. It is boring, but it really enhances and allows that mesh or your ribbons and your bow and everything else to really just show off. It doesn't interfere with anything else. So that's my number one answer. But in this kit, I did go with the black and white. That was what I had on hand. It, of course, coordinated. And overall, it's just going to look real nice with the ribbons selected. So if you see here, that's really fraying. Look at that. That's really fraying. But again, I'm going to put it down in there. I have another layer that's going to go on top. You're not going to notice. So here I am taking my ribbon, coming in nice and tight, scrunch it right up that center. You see it's all ready for me, so all I have to do is come in and scrunch it up the center. We're going to leave it like that for just a second. I love this pattern. Love this pattern. It has, you can't maybe see, but this is like little snowflakes and the polka dots and the Merry Christmas and the Swiss dots and the stripes. Just all the patterns coming in there. I love that it makes it look like more than one ribbon. Super cute. I'm just scrunching that up, kind of forming it before I put it in the pipe cleaner. And then I'm twisting this like 7 or 8 times so that when I go to fluff those ribbons, they are going to stay in place. They're not going to, pull out of that ribbon or the pipe cleaner. Let's say I only twisted it a couple times. That tends to sometimes come undone. And so if I twist it, 7 or 8 times, it helps keep it in place. There we go. And then the last one, so this is going to be my top. This is going to be my top. And so the last one, you see I was always putting them in so that the Merry Christmas words face me. This is going to be my very top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this upside down so that that Merry Christmas faces it. You won't really see this one because it'll be on the first layer. It'll be underneath. But just to give it a little chance at not being upside down completely, I just put it upside down to me, because then now I can see it the right way. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my wire cutters. Hopefully since this is a recording, hopefully I don't forget. Usually when I'm live, I have folks that remind me that I need to put them in the right way. So hopefully I don't forget. It's 50-50 chance, if you want me to be honest. All right, so I'm going to just push this down. I'm going to push this down and then just pull these apart, up and down and side to side. Up and down and side to side. This, now all the mesh kind of catches, like those little edges that catches on stuff. This is the part where I like when it catches, because it helps keep these ribbons, once I have them in place, of course, it helps keep those ribbons in place, which is really nice, right? It's really nice. Once they're all in place, and then sometimes it just catches on that ribbon just enough to help keep it right in place. It's nice. Just pushing those down, kind of helping that pipe cleaner just squish it all. Pulling those apart. Goes perfectly right there. Perfect. Okay, last one. Push it just directly down, side to side, up and down, side to side. And then we're going to go right on top for our next layer, making sure our pipe cleaners are ready for us. They are seen and ready. The mesh is going to go right directly on top. There we go. Now the frame in your design, even though I love the frame because it's our frame, we designed it, us and myself and Damon from Deco Exchange and Parker, really all three of us. So I love the frame, but my customer, they don't want to see the frame. They just want to see the wreath. They want to see all the pretty things that make the wreath pretty, not the thing that holds it all together. And so we have to do our due diligence to make sure you don't see the frame. And adding in this next layer here, so these two pieces, the piece I put in before this and this piece, start to completely overlap each other. And so now seeing the frame is becoming not a thing, right? So going right through here, you can't see the frame, which is the point. You don't want to see the frame. And then also, if you look at the ribbons on the outside, you see a nice pattern going there. It's the pattern, plaid pattern, plaid pattern, plaid pattern, all the way around. You're not seeing those the alike ribbons touching each other, and that's on purpose. It really looks better to the eye, more appealing to the eye, smoother transition, easier to look at. All the words you can think of when they are spread apart and they're not together. It looks, when the ribbons are together, it kind of looks chunky and it just doesn't oops, transition nicely and smoothly. So always make sure that when you're putting in your ribbons, they have that nice pattern going. Now, if you haven't yet checked out learnfrommelissa.com, it has links for all of our things that you might be interested in, a list of our favorite suppliers, a list of our favorite tools, lots of free tutorial resources, all of our social media links, our phone number, how to contact us. It's everything. So if you haven't yet visited learnfrommelissa.com, please make sure you do so. Right on top here. So I'm going nice and easy, nice and gentle with that mesh. You see, once I put it in, I'm just not touching it. Just don't touch it, don't move it, just put it in place and then leave it. So don't go back and play with the mesh, just completely leave it. And again, it is fraying. Certainly, most certainly is. Just know that, you know, you're putting your ribbon on top, you're putting a sign on top, you're putting a bow on top. And so all that fraying will become part of the foundation that you won't see. Now let's find the one we put in upside down, and let's do those parts first. Here it is right here. So this was the one we put in upside down. Now these two we're going to put in upside down, and you'll see why. But those two we're going to put in upside down. I'm going to start with those so that I don't forget, because I for sure would. So I'm going to put that one in. Again, it's upside down. The words are upside down to me right now as I'm putting it in. Same thing here, upside down as I put it in. Now, I made it specifically so that there was one on the outside and two on the inside, because that's how I like to place my sign. I like to place my sign so that it's covering 1, 2, 3, 4 pipe cleaners. And so I know that it looks better that way, first of all. And then I have 2 chances of it, you know, the ribbon facing me, looking towards me. So I just like to do it that way specifically. And then the rest I'm going to put in facing me. Now, some of them you will get to, it'll be upside down, like this part of the ribbon right here. That will be upside down when you're looking at it. There isn't any way to get around that unless you literally, you know, cut it and put it in, which no one's paying attention to that. But when they're all upside down and you can't see them, you're like, what does that say up there? So your focal is going to go up to the top and then down. It's not necessarily going to be out towards the side. So I'm okay with that one being upside down. It's fine. Scrunch right up the center, form it. Everything faces out towards you in this design. All those edges of the ribbon all face out towards you, so that anything that goes in the center is going to be covered up by our bow and our sign. So I don't want anything to go in the center. I want everything to come out towards the edge. This one is super cute. And again, picking up my wire cutter and cutting off all those at once instead of one at a time, just to help with the time process and things going a little bit quicker. Okay, now on this one, a little bit different. I'm going to push that down, but I'm going to push it in. Instead of pushing straight down right now, I'm going to push it in. And it's just going to help that layered look a little bit. I'm going to push it in. anything to help make the finished product look nicer, or, you know, more perfect, we are totally going to do and give it a try. So down and in. I love this patterned ribbon. It's so cool. It gives it such a cool look. Making it look like there's way more ribbon in here than there actually is. Super pretty. And then of course this is going to be my top. Now I'm still not going to mess with those ribbons. I'm going to let them be until I'm all done. I'm just going to make sure that those stay at the top. Okay. Look how cute. That is darling. Now, you see the buffalo plaid here. Instead of taking the black and white buffalo plaid and putting it out in the tails, I went with the red and black just because this had a lot of black and white talking, and I didn't want to interfere with this. I wanted this to kind of stand alone. And so this was kind of a supporting ribbon to this, letting it just be highlighted. I love that decision. It looks so good like that. So then we're going to go to our ribbon for our bow, and again we have four wraps here, and so I'm just going to take this off and cut our tail first. Okay, and then so this another one directional ribbon, but just in a different way. You see this, it comes this way. You know, I'm looking at it this way and it says Merry Christmas, and this way is upside down. So I'm going to start with the part of the ribbon that is going to come down as my tail, and I can read it correctly. So what I'm going to start with, that's going to go on the bottom of my bow. Okay, and there's just going to be about 7 inches, and I'm going to go about 6 inches. Okay, 7 inches and 6 inches. And I'm going to pinch there. Okay, perfect. I'm going to pull that apart. The 4-inch ribbon is a little bit wider, so you just pull, make sure it's all pulled apart, and then twist so I can make my other loop. Just going to go on the other side. Perfect. And then so if I pull it down, it's going to be upside down. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Listen, if I pull it down, it's going to be upside down. If I go over, it's going to be upside down. So there's no way to get it to not be upside down. If I go this way, pull it this way, and pull it down this way, it's going to be upside down, okay? If I twist it, it's going to be upside down. So there's no way to get it upside the right way unless I just simply cut it. I'm going to cut it, leave a little bit of space there. I'm going to slide this in here just like this. Okay, and then I'm going to take, oops, I cut that wrong. I'm going to take this and just come in the top so that those go both ways. That way when I fluff it, this side's going to come down, this side's going to come down. It'll be fine. Okay, so now I can see it all the right way. Then I'm going to come in with our plaid, black and white plaid. So I didn't go with the buffalo plaid on purpose, just again, making sure it's a little bit different. Okay, making sure it's a little bit different. Okay, oh, let's make that a little bit longer here. Let's go up against that last loop to see where you're standing, where you're at. Pull it apart, twist, loop, pinch, twist, loop. Okay, so my first layer is going to have just the 2 loops on each side. This one's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to go with the 3 loops so we can kind of fan it out a little bit. It'll be a little bit different. And I'm going to go with, I know you're probably like, oh, go with the red next. I'm going to go with the, oh, wait. Should I go? Yeah, I'll go with the red next. So again, even though it's folded, it's wired ribbon, so just uncrease it. Just run your fingers along. Okay? Just magic. I'm going to go 3 ribbons, or 3 loops, pinch, twist, loop. This is one of my favorite red ribbons. It is red and it has like a sparkly edge to it. So cute. I'm just going to make sure that those 2 loops over here and these 2 loops go opposite from each other. It's going to help me balance that bow out when I fluff it. All right. Excuse me. Our last one is going to have just 1 little loop on the top. And that's just going to be our little button to hide our pipe cleaner. So that doesn't count in our 3 loop design here. So I'm going to pinch, twist, pinch, twist, loop, pinch, twist, loop. And then again, I'm going to make sure that the 2 loops here go opposite from the 2 loops there. So I'm just going to go over here this way. Okay, just like that. Push it down a little bit. Lift off, make sure it all stays together. Push. So I make sure that center of that bow is nice and straight. If you wanted to use a zip tie at this time, you totally can. I go back and forth, apparently. I go back and forth. Okay, so now I have, I'll cut this off since it's a little bit long. And just for fun, because I don't feel like I got that pretty tight, so I'm going to add a zip tie just for my own security, because I don't feel like that's tight at all. And it's pretty early in the morning, so my hands aren't really working. There we go. Okay. So now I have a part for me to tie into the wreath. I'm going to bring my little button up because I'm going to hide that with this little button loop. So there, that's all done. Hidden, done from the top. I'm going to pull my my tails down. Remember, for my first layer, I had those two tails. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and bring the tails and the loops kind of all around. They're going to be all over. So I'm going to bring this one up, come down. I'm going to bring this tail up. This is going to go up. And then I'm going to bring this long tail down. I'm going to cut it so that it's about the same. Okay. I'm going to bring the short tail up. And they can't go too far up because we don't want them to cover up our sign, right? So we don't want them to be too crazy up. Okay, and then the long one goes down, short one goes up. Okay, super cute, just simple, something different, a little different. And I like to put those the two loops with the 4-inch on the bottom, just giving it a little base. There we go, perfection. All right, we're gonna add our pipe cleaners to the back of the sign. And then we're gonna attach everything in. Just slide it right through here. That bow is darling. Just gonna cut these off because we just don't need it. So you're gonna hang that by itself. We're obviously not gonna hang it. We're gonna put it in our wreath. Just super cute, really cute. All right, let's go ahead and put our sign in first. Now again, I want to make sure I cover 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to make sure those two that specifically went in, remember we put them in upside down. That's going right at the top above. And then I'm just going to poke our pipe cleaners right through that mesh. This is the hardest part of the whole thing. Getting our pipe cleaner to go through all those layers of mesh is sometimes the part that makes me want to pull my hair out a little bit. Oh, and that went in pretty easy. Okay. I'm going to slide that in, snuggle it so that that sign stays in place. Come over here, do the same thing. Oh, these are going in pretty easy. Maybe it heard me. Maybe it was like, don't mess with Melissa today. Wow. So the pipe cleaners are 2 pieces of wire that are kind of woven together. And they always seem to catch on that mesh. That's why I say it's the hardest. And today we just went right in. That was pretty good. And I'm just wrapping it around the whole frame. Okay, so I just grabbed the whole frame, and then I'm going to tuck that excess underneath. So it's nice and clean back here. It's not messy. There you go, just like that. Perfection. I'll go and fix all the ribbons at the very end. And then, of course, we're coming in right here for our final bow situation. So perfect, so pretty. Come on. See, now it wants to be a little stinker. I was just bragging about how wonderful, how awesome. Okay, so what I did here was I didn't have enough mesh or pipe cleaner to go around the whole thing. So there were extra holes here and there. And this is exactly the reason why. I just grabbed that one little hole that was there so I could pull it in so I didn't have to wrap the whole pipe cleaner around the entire frame. So it's just nice and easier, more convenient, a little quicker. That way I still have a lot of pipe cleaner left, and then I don't have to worry about it coming undone. And then we're just going to adjust our bow so that it lays just the way we want. This one is, remember, a little bit longer, so we'll adjust there. Cute, super cute, super cute. ended up cutting that one a little bit short, but that's okay. Darling. Super cute. Y'all, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to be following us, making sure you're subscribed and all those things. We do lots of videos just like this, lots of crafty things. Again, learnfrommelissa.com is where you can find all of our links, our YouTube, our Facebook, all the channels, all the things. Signing up for our email list. Make sure that you don't miss any free video that we put out. We always send emails when we have a free video that we put out. Putting you on our email list also. So like this was a kit, for example. Putting you on, being on our email list also ensures that you get first dibs on emails before we post it to the public. So that's a nice perk. Typically our kits do sell out before it reaches the public, just from our email friends. So that's always a nice perk also. And then also it's just a great way if you want to contact us, you need our phone number, all the things. So learnfrommelissa.com. This is adorable. For all of you who did purchase this as a kit, thank you very much. I hope that you enjoyed putting your kit together. And again, so it's nice and wide. Let's zoom you out here just a little bit. It's nice and wide. We are sitting at about 24 inches right about here, 24 inches from peak to peak. And then again, it is still nice and thin to fit between most doors. So the design is a real slim design. Again, it's Melissa from Sincerely Creative Mom. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope again, I will see you again. Bye, y'all.